Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And let me introduce myself. My name is Yasmin Alifa Chaerunissa. I am from English department of Kuningan University. So today I would like to present my academic journal presentation about tourism recovery strategy against COVID-19 pandemic. So next. So the first I would like to introduce you about the journal identity. Title is Tourism Recovery Strategy Against COVID-19 Pandemic, page 8, published in 21 August 2020. The author is Shih-Shuo Yeh. Next slide. Here I would like to introduce you the author's identity. Name is Shih-Shuo Yeh, current institution in National Quemoy University, Kinmen, Taiwan, and current position is professor or associate. Next email yeso5@yahoo.com.ty. And next is the title, Tourism Recovery Strategy Against COVID-19 Pandemic. Next. So the first I would like to explain you is about research objective. 1. The purpose from this journal is travel is requisite for tourism activity. Therefore, any factor that hinders traveling may have a profound impact on the tourism industry. This includes pandemics such as COVID-19, and therefore it is important to have well thought out tourism crisis and disaster management, or TCDM, to mitigate the impact and help with post-crisis recovery. This study uses a qualitative research method to examine the TCDM during the current crisis. Interviews will conduct and transcribe. Next is literature review. 1. Disaster management. Tourism industry is extremely vulnerable to numerous factors such as natural disaster, disease pandemic, terrorism, uprising, and so on. Therefore, tourism-related organizations need to be well prepared in countering and recovery strategies. Some studies, Jiang Ritchie and Benkendorf in 2020 and in 2019, define such effort as a tourism crisis and disaster management, or TCDM. Although TCDM is an important topic, the difficulty of research opportunities the result in few publications. However, the few study results are sufficient to offer a glimpse of TCDM. And next, it's still in literature review. Number 2 is interdisciplinary approach. As stated previously, tourism is a multidisciplinary industry, and TCDM likely involves interdepartmental efforts. TCDM study therefore requires an interdisciplinary approach to provide a more holistic understanding of the subject. Many industries are affected and require a wide spectrum of agencies to pitch in and try to solve the problem. Therefore, it is essential to have an interdisciplinary collaboration in the investigation of TCDM of COVID-19 situation. Next slide. Number 3 of literature review, recent outbreak of pandemic. The recent outbreak of pandemic erupted most likely from Wuhan, China, in the end of 2019. The origin of the novel coronavirus, later labeled COVID-19, is obscure. There are many speculations and conspiracy theories about the origin of the virus floating around. Al Jazeera News 2020, Bahrainer 2020. These are just a few of the comparatively minor problems caused by COVID-19. The impact of COVID-19 ventured beyond a medical issue. Many social, political, and economic issues emerge with the spread of the virus continues. Next slide. So before we go to methodology, this is much remains unknown regarding the pandemic, and the information about its impact and is unveiled gradually. The paper is the attempt that focused on TCDM. And in methodology, a series of in-depth interviews were conducted to elicit opinion from experts in tourism industry, policymakers, and journalists. The interviews were asked to watch various discussion programs regarding COVID-19 and its economic impact, specifically in tourism industry. The interviews were the comments in a semi-structured manner. The three main focus of discussion during the interviews were 1. Which business is most likely to be affected by COVID-19? Number 2. How are these impacts interrelated? And number 3 is, how can one effectively mitigate the impact and prepare for post-crisis recovery? The data collected is qualitative, which was transcribed and analyzed using a text analytic tool offered by the SPSS modeler. So next will be methodology number 1. Number 1 is research method, as the event regarding COVID-19 is still evolving and the situation is largely unknown. This study is inductive. The main aim is to discover effective TCDM to cope with such pandemic as COVID-19. Thus, the scope of the study may be limited to a certain area in a particular time frame, but it can be a preliminary study that provides the direction for future studies by Jennings in 2010. Next slide. 2. Interview selection. Taiwan was selected as the research site given its relative success in combating the impact of COVID-19. The interviews were conducted in March on 2020. 12 interviews were selected based on their expertise and knowledge about either the tourism industry and or COVID-19 impact. The interview include 4 scholars in tourism-related fields, 4 practitioners in tourism industry, 2 government officials handling tourism-related policies, and 2 journals. Next slide. 3 is data analysis. To improve the validity and reliability of the chosen research method, the same data were sent to the other scholars to see if the same conclusion could be reached. The interviews were all well-known acquaintance, so prior report exists, and watching the discussion programmers ensure that the interviews are effective in collecting valid and reliable data by Jiang and Ricci in 2017. Alright, next slide. Next slide is about result and discussion. Here is the picture of the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism industry. Here I want to explain about figure 1. The result of the analysis is shown in figure 1. From figure 1, one can notice several things. The size of the circle in the figure represents the frequency of birth, and frequency itself an aspect of importance. The most frequently recognized words or terms are tourism and COVID-19, since they are the focal point of our discussion. The next array of words in prominence are travel, transportation, hotel, food and beverage, and nature. It should be noted that the word travel in the figure specifically refers to the travel agency industry. One can also see other related agency industry. One can also see other related words such as airline, show, duty-free shops, beach, and forest. The result reveals that COVID-19 affects a wide range of tourism-related business. Some business suffers the loss of customers, which may cause unemployment. One of the purposes of the figure is to identify the interrelationships among the dams. Next slide. Next slide is 2. Effective TCDM. Most interviews agree that the main focus of TCDM is not to overexert the limited resource, which include budget, human resource, and others. As long as the company survives, all the employees can return to work when the crisis is over. Although the industry will still suffer some hit, no lasting damage occur. Thus, one of the keys to the success of TCDM is temperance. The second ingredient in successful of TCDM is prioritizing tasks. The three main areas that require attention are safety, physical recovery, and business recovery by Kazai in 2018. Next slide is about conclusion. This is the last of the presentation today. So the impact of the pandemic is significant and requires an interdisciplinary research tackle. As COVID-19 is still an ongoing crisis, it is difficult to get the knowledge of the picture as a whole. Therefore, future studies are advised to include other disciplines which will be helpful in mitigating the impact of the crisis and post-crisis recovery. Government plays a major role in the fight against the COVID-19 on many levels, such as the recovery of the economy, which includes tourism industry. Because there are many local governments, it is important to have open communication to build rapport and a good working relationship. So this is all the presentation from me. I'm so sorry if I have a mistake, and if you have something question, you can ask me later. So thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.